Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 411. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes, and the return of our good friend, a gentleman's gentleman, Ryan Ripken. Guys, how we doing?
Feeling good. You guys, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Happy 2024, by the way.
I know.
Happy 2024.
It still doesn't feel right. It still doesn't feel. This is strange.
Yeah, I feel like I know there's that period where you're allowed to say Happy New Year to somebody, and now we're in February.
We're weeks past that.
I know,
yeah.
but I mean, I you know what my rule is? If you haven't seen the person yet in a while, I know we've texted, but we haven't had a chance to talk. Here's the time. Like, hey, happy 2024, guys.
Hey, happy 2024.
I think the bigger news that obviously is that, like, all right, it's February, and then baseball is happening this month. Wild. It's just in the snap of a finger.
Yeah. How are you doing post Ravens? Are you doing okay?
Is that really what you wanted to open this with?
I wanted to open with it. I just wanted to. It's a temperature check. That's all this is.
How's Raven Rye doing?
Raven Rye that was tough.
That was a dud.
I tell people that the Ravens have had some tough playoff losses, and the one was Billy Cundiff in 2011-12 season. The Ravens went from a drop touchdown pass to then a missed field goal to then, being eliminated all in a span of like 30 seconds. But who remembers those moments? That was the most shocking. I think Sundays was the most painful. But you know what? Baltimore's had a wild week, guys. Like, talk about a roller coaster of emotions for Baltimore sports.
Yeah, true.
So with all the disappointing end of the season with the Ravens, I think for some made up for it with just the wild ride that has been the Baltimore Orioles offseason, really over a span of 48 hours.
I'm a fan. It sucks to say it out loud. I'm a fan of how things have. What is going on? I don't even know. Like, there's more action in Baltimore offseason than 90% of the league.
I would say the vibes are higher in Baltimore than even like LA, because with LA, it was the most predictable thing. You saw that coming from a mile away. They've been building up to these moves for the last like year and a half. But to get the update, and Ryan, you even said you're a little bit blindsided, kind of caught you off guard. To get the update, you're like, this is what Orioles fans have been clamoring for a long time. And it's like it happened. It manifested.
There are so many things to unpack on that. So, if it's going from the whole news about, the Orioles being sold, and I was giving lessons. I try on days when I'm not doing my media work, I try to work and help the next generation, right, guys? People helping people. And I am doing lessons for like 6 straight hours. And during it, I have my phone down, and all of a sudden I get like the news. Okay, Rubenstein is in agreement to buy a team. Like, okay, put the phone down. Then another person comes in and is like, oh, hey, like big thing for your family. I'm like, what are we discussing here? And then I saw the other report that came out that said my dad was going to be involved potentially in the new deal, but so many things to unpack there. But yes, blindsided was an understatement as far as what I was trying to do. And then I need to get better at answering my text messages. At one point, guys, currently still, my phone is at 1,076 messages. I'm still very overwhelmed with what's transpired.
That'll never get to 0, right?
Never.
I mean, how many people is that divvied up amongst? Is that just me and Nate just blowing you up in the group text, and that's
5
like
people,
95% of the text?
Yeah, you guys might account for half of it, right? No, it definitely, the people that I hadn't heard from in a long time reached out. News stations reached out. You name it, someone reached out. So it was just. I didn't have a lot of time to react because, again, like I just want to, when I'm working or doing something, I got to focus on that. I'm not a great multitasker, but also I want to spend time with the people that are making the time to come work with me. So then that happens. And then a couple of days, 48 hours later, finish a live show that I do here in the studio that I have, and I'm about to go home. And what happens? Corbin Burnes is getting traded to Baltimore. Holy shirts and pants. I got to go live again and talk about it. So I did. And, but there's so much excitement around the team, right? So I think that's the big part of it. To your point, the Dodgers, everyone knows the Dodgers are going to spend money. But for the Orioles, they were waiting for that first move, and it happened. And now the AL East, sorry, minus the Red Sox for vibe check, but like the Yankees vibes are higher and the Orioles are through the roof. And I think we're going to actually see that O's-Yankees rivalry was kind of renewed last year, but I think it's going to be in full force here in 2024.
Yeah, I need that. I need some O's Yankees heat in 2024. That's a fun rivalry.
That is a fun one. It's low key, the whole like ghost of Babe Ruth, the whole, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff coming back out, the house that Ruth built, like all these, you know, the original home of Ruth, like all these things that come back out of it. I like it. I'm here for it. I think, you know, you see like interdivision rivalries that can grow at times, you know what I mean? And I think like for us to, baseball fans can't hold the Red Sox and Yankees at that standard of what we grew up watching. Like I don't see that ever returning in my mind. So it's cool to see like a potential new interdivision rivalry grow a little bit and maybe be rekindled, if you will.
Well, so what I think also too is, and maybe this is what makes, we talked about the AL East has been so competitive over the years, right? Best division in baseball last year, no doubt it was. But I think it's that each team in the AL East has been good or solid. I know I made the joke about the Red Sox, Kyle, and I'm sorry. But even for the Red Sox, they compete. Even if it's a down year, which right now it's not as optimistic as you'd want to be as a Red Sox fan, just if we're going to be honest about it. But each team is solid, and you're seeing this competitive drive, like the Yanks and Rays going at it in the past. Mm-hmm. The Blue Jays and Orioles have had this new type of bitterness towards each other. I love it. I'm for that. And you don't want your division rivals, and especially the fact that there's less divisional games, guys.
They mean ones, more now.
We talked about it more, and it's like, yeah, we only play you guys, you know, X amount of times, you know, now than we used to. We got to be ready to go. And, yeah, who doesn't like a little rivalry in sports? I personally love it. You don't want to love the other team. Come on now. It's no fun.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No fun.
Ryan, from your perspective, this sale, how does this impact? I mean, I already alluded to it with, you know, this is something that Orioles fans have been clamoring for a long time. But from your specific perspective, how does this affect morale amongst the fans, amongst the city, amongst even the team heading into 2024, especially days before the Corbin Burnes move? Like just a lot of good things moving in the right direction. Does the timing of this sale change morale heading into 2024?
I think morale was going to be high no matter what, because this is a extremely exciting team, right? So the Orioles are their goal. Nothing for the 2024 season, if you're a player or organization fan, has changed. You're gonna try to repeat as AL East champs, but regardless, get to the postseason, try to make a deeper run. That's the goal, hasn't changed. And I do want to say with this, I know people have had their feelings, you know, documented with what's happened with Baltimore ownership, whatever it may be, right? But I do want people to understand and give credit where credit's due, especially John Angelos bringing in Mike Elias to come in and really transform this organization. I know people can feel how they've wanted to. And again, that's not my place and that's not my opinion, but I'd be falling on deaf ears to not hear other noise. You guys know exactly what's been said, but you brought someone in that completely changed what the Orioles were going to embody and look like moving forward. So it's been tremendous. Now, as far as what it means, if this goes through, it'll be a new chapter in Baltimore. There hasn't been an ownership change in 3 decades. And what the morale part, I think, which would be exciting is if it's a new chapter, it's a new chapter going in, which could be the golden age of Baltimore baseball, something that hasn't happened if you're looking back to like the 70s, the 80s. I mean, guys, I've documented this. Since 1983, the Orioles have been to the playoffs 6 times in 40 years. It feels like right now, this is, for fans, this is something that like it could be a perfect storm of success, both on the field and organizationally, that ultimately can really help shape even the city of Baltimore.
Where are we at with
breaking news?
That's so insane.
We're gonna come back to this real quick. Ryan, did you by chance see the update?
No.
It's one of 1,700
that was silly of me to ask. Jeff Passan, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. and the Kansas City Royals are in agreement on an 11-year, $288.7 million contract extension.
Pay that man. Pay that man. They did.
I love that.
Dude, he's a stud. He's really good. Are the Royals going to like mess around and win the AL Central? It's hard to believe.
It's up for grabs, but
are the Royals going to mess around and win the whole thing?
Might as well win the whole damn thing. But I'm happy about that. I love that more teams are taking that chance to do that. So how old will Bobby Witt be then after 11 years? He'll be 31, 32, something like 33?
30.
I'm looking it up now.
He's
30.
23, so
34.
34.
Yeah.
Interesting. But again, this is the dilemma when people are when they say offer extensions. Bobby Witt is taking the money now. And if he played well over the next 3 years or so, he could have played into a bigger contract. But $280 million, that's some good money.
Yeah.
Some good money.
But good for the Royals for forking that out, too,
Absolutely.
just because that's an organization that typically wouldn't take those steps. And so I love that, like, you can lock that down and create a cornerstone and start to build around it, which they're trying to do. Like we talked about it last week. I like what the Royals are doing. I think Pasquantino needs more attention. I think the veterans that they've added in the offseason. So, like, I'm excited for what the Royals are doing. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to run away with the Central or anything. But, like, at the very least, you can start selling jerseys and, like, having a name for the franchise for the next decade. And I also think that, like, he's got a skill set that I don't think is going to diminish throughout that contract. You know what I mean? The defense and the speed, the pop is only going to get better. He's only going to get stronger. He's going to settle into like a man's body here in the next couple of years, and you're going to see some pop really show up. So I'm a fan. I wanted to ask you, just to put a final pin on the sale and everything. I don't know if you got more questions, Kyle, but like for baseball fans outside of the Baltimore area and just outside other fan bases, I know that there's these conversations of a lot of these ballparks trying to build more of an environment and atmosphere around the park and have restaurants and like shops and like spend the day around the park before a game. I heard that there were rumors a few months ago that Camden was trying to do something similar with the owner, like new ownership and everything. Do you feel like that's still in play, or like, have you heard that that's part of the rumblings?
You know, I think I can't, speak on what could happen with as far as that. And for everyone that's still wondering, this deal for the ownership has to be approved. I believe it's next week at the meetings, I think, for everything to go through. Now, as far as when people saw the lease of the with Camden Yards and the city of Baltimore, that had been going on for a long time. And in the discussions, you're right, it was, is there going to be built more of a fan experience around the area, especially if Camden Yards right there and you have M&T Bank Stadium, home of the Ravens. They share parking lots, right? Like everything's right there. So I think knowing and seeing what David Rubenstein has accomplished as a businessman, I no doubt in my mind that will definitely be a conversation. Now, will it happen to the extent? Who knows? And I will say Baltimore still has some staples that are there that if these moves happen, how would that affect the local businesses that have already been there in that history? Like Pickles Pub outside of, you guys saw it.
Right.
That place is bumping.
Jumping.
And that atmosphere, I never wanted to change. So, and I think that that's also what makes Baltimore, that part special. So I think if you're going to end up doing something like that, how do you have it be where it fits with what your teams want to do? But, and the other part of it is when you have another professional team involved and you have the city involved and you have the governor of Maryland involved, like all of this is already making my head spin. My head's been spinning a lot. So if anything, this is not something that's going to be an immediate thing at all.
Sure.
It's going to be so long. The Ravens
it's a slow burn.
The Ravens did announce actual renovations though towards M&T Bank Stadium. So yes, I think that the Orioles are going to look at all different areas to make people and fans that come to the games have an overall experience. That is definitely going to be, in my mind, a priority. But building what other places have, we're going to have to wait and see what that's going to look like.
Have you been, like, personally, have you been to like Truist?
I haven't
or
yet.
anything like that?
No.
Yet. That's sick. It's like a mini Nashville. It's just this little town it feels like it's a part of the ballpark, and like shops, and like to walk into a full Mizuno store and sit in a big leather glove. Like there's a lot of cool things that I think would like really, and like all three of us had grown up going to Camden Yards and like just attending it countless times. It sounds awesome to be able to have some type of experience added in. But yeah, that's all I was wondering.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to have a Mizuno glove sitting down somewhere. You have do you have a photo, by the way, of that?
I do. I'll send it to you.
That's
it's
electric.
Sick.
I got to see.
You're going to have to read it though, if I send it to you.
All right, I'll open it. Yeah, that'd be
great. Speaking of head spinning, sorry, I had to get the Witt post out. Did we adequately cover the Corbin Burnes?
Dude, talk to me about that.
What do you guys want to know?
I mean, does this satisfy the itch of a frontline starter that the Orioles were hoping for?
Absolutely. I mean, you just got one of the top 10 starting pitchers in baseball. Okay. I could even argue he could be a top 5 if he's the Corbin Burnes. That was the Cy Young Corbin Burnes. If you're going to go over his last 4 years, his down year was last year, and it was a 3.39 ERA. The previous 3 years, he had a sub-3 ERA. I think what I love about it is when you look at this Orioles pitching staff, Bradish, stud. Grayson Rodriguez, stud. John Means has proven all-star, stud. Dean Kramer is now your 5th starter, and Dean is a dog. That's my guy too. So right now you're looking at it and going, man, this is a very deep rotation. And you add a guy like Corbin Burnes, and the bigger thing I should take away is he's been now in the league for 6 years or so, I think is roughly that. The one thing the Orioles pitching staff has been lacking is someone that has been a starter for that long. And now you have one of those guys that is a workhorse. He's pitched around 200 innings over the last few seasons. And now you have a chance then to lead an already talented team, a talented starting rotation. It's just tremendous. Now, the biggest thing is health, right? You need to stay healthy. And that is for every pitcher. We saw it with the Yankees last year, right? Rodon's injury setting him back. He wasn't the same. Even when he came back, it's an uphill battle if you aren't healthy to start the season. And Verlander too, right? Like guys that are going to deal with injuries, it's going to take time, and it's harder to kind of get in a rhythm. So it's monumental. I'm not going to say it's. I still think the Yankees, and good, let the Yankees be favored in the AL East, and I do think the Yankees are going to have a great year. But for the Orioles now, if everyone stays healthy, you're looking at a staff that went from one of the best in the American League to now going, this is one of the best staffs in the entire in the entire Major League Baseball, National League, American League, you name it. The birds are going to be buzzing.
Take Corbin out of the picture here. Of what's left of that rotation, who do you think has the most surprising, in a good way, 2024?
In the rotation? Yeah. I'm really hopeful that John Means shows that he gets back to an all-star form, because especially as a left-handed pitcher and what he is capable of doing, I think that if he to me is kind of X factor, because I'll put this in. I think Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez, again, all health aside, those guys are going to continue to pitch at a high level. I think so. You have Grayson, Kyle, and Corbin, who I'm counting on having really good years. You add in a guy like John Means, and if he's healthy, going, man, you have 4 guys in my mind that could be all-stars. And I think Dean could even be that guy too. I think that's what's so crazy. But it's going to be that back end. It's going to be a Means or Dean Kramer. If one of those guys has a really good year, I don't remember a staff like this that has been this deep in a while. So it's exciting to say the least. But I'm going to go with John Means, because Means, he's been through a lot, having to be left off the postseason roster too because of some elbow inflammation and soreness that always worries you. And the guys love him. So I'm really hopeful for him. And he's a great guy. So who doesn't want to see a great guy do well, Kyle, you know?
Who doesn't want to see the O's have a solid encore?
Well, I think a lot of people that are in the American League East would not want to see that. But
I don't think the list is as long as you think it is. Red Sox fans, you're just
along for the ride. Whatever happens,
we're along for the ride.
Yeah.
Rays fans are the
too small to count.
The handful that exists, they're just happy to be here. Jays fans, I don't think have had the fortune of taking their team seriously in a handful of years.
Yeah.
Ever since Vladdy sent him to an early grave with his movie comments, but I don't think the list is as long as you might think, right?
Yeah.
I really don't.
Is Corbin Burnes under control?
So this is his last year, I believe.
Yeah, he's got 1 year left.
And I think the other part of it is, and correct me if I'm wrong about who his agent is it Scott Boras? Is he a Boras guy?
Is he a Boras guy?
He might be.
Possibly. So he's hitting the market for sure.
Well, and the other part when people go, wait a minute, is it a rental? What's going to happen? If you trade for a guy, you're going to get the first chance to convince him to stay. And I think that's for the Baltimore Orioles. And he's in his prime. He's 29 years old. And we're seeing now with elite starting pitchers, if you're able to take care of yourself and be able to continue to evolve as a pitcher as you get older, you can pitch into your late 30s and even 40s for some guys.
He is a Boras guy, by the way.
He's what?
At 29. At 29, he's only had 3 full seasons as far as innings go. You know what I mean? Like it was 160 and then 200 and then 190 last year. So like the first 3 years of his career, he didn't have a lot of wear and tear going. So I think he plays down to like a younger 29. So I could see a good 5 or 6, maybe 7 year deal for him. But I'm curious to see how well the numbers go being in, Milwaukee's kind of a little bit of a box. So it's like now that we're expanding the outfield, we got a little bit more room in left field in Baltimore. It's like I'm interested to see where his numbers go, being able to probably keep the ball in the ballpark even more so.
Yeah, I mean, I think what also is going to be interesting, you're right, like Baltimore, since they put the Great Wall of Baltimore in left field, it really has changed the dynamic for pitchers and hitters at Camden Yards. So a guy like Burnes, a guy that is with a young, exciting team, you brought up the age, it just, with a young team too, you're right. So if he is feeling good, it just seems like it could be a perfect match. And I do think the Orioles will be aggressive to try to keep him. But if it doesn't work out, then you let him walk. And, that is what it is. But I think Corbin Burnes is still going to be a guy for years to come. And I think that people in the NL Central really understood how good he was. But maybe around baseball, that's why I say top 10, but he really is, to me, when he's on, he is a top 5 pitcher. But I don't think people view him that way because of playing in Milwaukee. But now he's going to have the chance. You are going to go against, and it's going to make you feel good, Nate. But, Soto and Judge, those are in my mind, 2 of the top 5 hitters in baseball. And you and as far as what they're capable
Devers
of doing.
being in top 10.
Yeah. So you're going to go
Bichette.
You're going against guys consistently in the American League East. And for the Orioles, they need a guy like that. And if he shoves it against some of the best players in the world, which I expect him to be great, we're going to hear the drumbeat louder for Corbin Burnes. But if it does, we thought Blake Snell was getting a big contract this offseason, whenever it is. Corbin Burnes is going to be through the damn roof.
I feel like Corbin's got to be excited at the prospect of having we know how the Orioles season finished last year, but I would imagine he's got to be excited about the prospect of having a realistic chance to play for a team that's destined for the NLCS.
Primed.
Capped. Like the Brewers, nobody's expecting, or nobody has really placed the Brewers in that World Series conversation, but the Orioles with the moves they made and now that he's joining this team, making them that much better, to know that you have a chance. And that has to play into contract extension talks, like you were alluding to.
Yeah, well, you knew it was a dead end in Milwaukee. The arbitration, you could tell, and it's the business side of it, but your feelings can get hurt. And obviously he didn't like the business, the way that Milwaukee went about it. And some organizations are better at handling that than others. But for those that don't know about arbitration, it's essentially you're arguing why you should get paid this much, and the team's trying to tell you why you shouldn't get paid that much. Like that's the argument.
Such a weird,
stupidest system in
So like you're trying to break down, and I think they even said, Corbin said that the Brewers were saying, well, not blaming him for the reason why they lost games, but they could have won more if he had done more. And it's like, well, that's a bold statement here. I think and so overall the business of it, Corbin Burnes could have an opportunity. And again, we just mentioned that playing the AL East, this is a great chance to showcase his skills. And you are with a team now where, like I said, it's a contagious energy. You heard about people coming to Baltimore last year of saying, Kyle Gibson has been around a lot of teams. He said it was a very exciting, brought his love for the game back. It's a very hungry group, and they're very passionate. And right now you feel like the window for the Baltimore Orioles is now open. And like we said, this is a window. You don't think it's a one-year thing. So you can definitely try to convince him. But again, money talks, and that will be another conversation that's going to have to be had because the Orioles do have a lot of guys that they're going to have to consider.
That's what I was going to say. Like listed priority wise, you know what I mean? You have Gunnar, you have Holiday, you have Adley, you have guys that are going to need money. And it's like, how much seniority is going to come into play now with a one guy that's front of the rotation. And you talk about Grayson, you talk about Bradish, like you talk about guys that are going to be core guys. It's like, it's hard to imagine forking over money to Corbin Burnes first when you still have those guys that are obviously fan favorites and homegrown.
Oh yeah. Well, the other part of it too is you brought up Gunnar and Jackson. Who is their agent?
Yeah.
Mr. Scott Boras. So if you think anyone, and people were saying it takes two to tango here, by the way, the Orioles,
right?
Michael Elias even was asked about that in the past. Like, how many times have you reached out to Scott Boras? They're like, well, multiple times, a week, a day, and he's going to get the most out of it. So it's going to be a process here. The one guy, and you guys have heard me talk about it, Gunnar Henderson ain't going anywhere. Like I will tackle Gunnar from leaving Baltimore if I have to. Because I truly do believe when it's all said and done, and I've watched this, and this is a bold claim, they have statues outside of Camden Yards. If he re-signs in Baltimore, he's going to be the next one to have a statue out there. That's just how high I am on Gunnar Henderson. The kid's different. He's special. And as good as he was last year, it's not even close to as good as he can be. And that's scary.
Let's switch gears here as much as I know Ryan would love to talk O's for the next. Well, you probably are for it. Once you hop off with us, you're probably going to be talking O's for the rest of the day.
No,
because
we'll be talking some other. I love just talking shop in general, guys. It doesn't have to be about the Orioles. Come on, last year we talked about whatever, but you guys just claim that I'm the Baltimore guy.
You are Baltimore Rye.
Well, I like that.
And honestly, like if there ever was a time to talk O's, this would be the time to do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
But let's put a bow on this Bobby Witt talk. Some more details are coming in. Jeff Passan followed up his announcement tweet saying that his deal with the Royals has opt-outs after the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th years of his 11-year contract. He says it also includes a 3-year club option that can take the total value of the deal to 14 years and $377.7 million.
Okay, so opt out after the 9th year?
7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th years.
He can
so
opt
30, 31, 32.
Oh, wow. I really like that deal even more for Bobby Witt.
But it is backloaded to say, hey, we got 3 more years for you, taking you into 36, 37 years old. Which we've seen now, baseball now, it's like the later free agents, those guys are not getting multi-year deals. It's they're lucky to have 2-year deal at 34. So this is a smart deal on both sides. I like it.
And I like the creativity. You saw that with Julio Rodriguez as far as the creativity for the incentives and the years and the options. For Bobby Witt, then if it is 7, he'll be 30, 31. And in that case, we saw Manny Machado last year get another $300 million or $350, whatever it is. Manny's feeling good, by the way. That's like, $650 million over his last 2 contracts. Not bad. But that's something that's going to be appealing. So Bobby Witt, one way or another, is going to be in a really good position. I want to see teams do more of that. And for the Royals, you talk about having I know they're spending more, but I think we're all in agreement. You got to lock up your guys at some point. The dude just hit 30 jacks last year, you know, and the best is probably still yet to come for Bobby Witt. So he's
great. A walking 30-30 guy. Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
He just tweeted out the GIF from Wolf of Wall Street where he says, "I'm not leaving." Little handshake
Fire me
emoji.
Up. Let's go.
Little handshake emoji and tagged the Royals and said, "I'm not leaving."
Yeah.
Love that. Friend of the pod, Bobby Witt. There was a tweet, as I'm just scrolling through the timeline here, there was a tweet from Danny Vietti, a good follow. He said, Bobby Witt Jr. will be in Kansas City for the next decade. Julio Rodriguez, who we just mentioned, will be in Seattle for the next decade. Fernando Tatis Jr. will be in San Diego for the next decade. And Corbin Burnes will be in Arizona for nearly the next decade. He said, this is great for baseball. And I have to agree.
100%.
Yeah, I think when we see around other professional sports where guys are jumping, stars are jumping from team, not just because of how the structure is. In the NFL, some of your stars stay, but after 5 years, you move on. The shelf life's different, right? NBA, it feels like people are like, yep, I want to get traded, and you go somewhere else. I love that people can get traded. I think going to other places in free agency is exciting. But, man, isn't it also great to have guys have roots in the cities and players then can – that's like the loyalty of fan bases. Mm-hmm. They love seeing the loyalty from players.
I think your family has a little bit of a connection to that loyalty logic. So, I definitely agree. Last episode, I was just talking about how I hate 1 year deals, and like I understand it's part of the business, especially as guys get later in their career. But it's just hard. And I use Justin Turner as an example. It's hard for me to get excited over a guy like Justin Turner, knowing. And I said it before. I said it last year. I said he's not going to be here after next year. And sure enough, he goes to Toronto, which we'll touch on. But I like, especially when these young guys can get locked down and they want to stick around for the long haul. And you know, now that you've got teams like the Royals, you've got teams like the D-backs locking down their young talent. It goes back to the O's. There's no excuse for the Orioles they can't say, well, we're one of these smaller market teams. We don't have the luxury of locking these big stars or these young stars. Yeah. There's no excuse for them now, because you're going to tell me that the D-backs are any different. You're going to tell me that the Royals are no, the Orioles need to go out and lock their guys down.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me, I genuinely think there's going to be some type of restructure with our next agreement. I think there's going to be a divisional restructure. There's going to be teams moved around in different divisions. I think we're going to see some new stuff. And a lot of these young guys, their second half of the contract could look very different. Bobby Witt may no longer be in the AL Central with some of these, Tigers and Twins and things. It's going to be different. So I'm interested to see what these guys look like in their prime when baseball potentially has an entirely different look.
Yeah, baseball's made a lot of changes, obviously, and overall, even though if people had reservations about it, it's been for popularity, it went well this year, like as far as the pitch clock. And there's still things that have to be worked out, right? There's still certain components. I'm really curious about the playoff systems, if the realignments, there's so many other things that you are going to have to see unfold. But one thing that I do think is great, again, it's if you're talking to branding players of the franchise and bringing that excitement about, I think that to me, you're right, is so exciting. I think for baseball for so long, if you look back into the early 2000s and 90s and these rivalries, you can look back at some of these legendary players playing with these teams and having these legendary battles with rivals. So that's the only thing I don't when they I'm with you, Nate. Something's coming. Yeah. But I hope in the process it allows for just these great storylines and memories, because that's another part of sports is those storylines mean a lot, and they can even and players love that too. We talk about the Yankees, Red Sox. They love that. The Yankees, Orioles back in the 90s. I remember my dad talking about it. They used to live for those moments. So I never want baseball to lose that type of feeling, because those are things that you sometimes can't even.
It's generational.
Can't quantify. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's transition here. Justin Turner, as I mentioned, signs a 1 year deal worth $13 million with the Toronto Blue Jays. Can make an additional $1.5 million in bonuses. had a strong year in Boston, and I think that's
I hate the fit.
A bit, yeah. I mean,
I hate the fit.
He was sought after by teams that were looking to add I'm going to say power bat. I mean, he's definitely not top tier in that regard, but he's gonna give you some production and stays within the division. But to your point, I'm not.
There have so many guys that are going to have to rotate through DH.
Yeah.
And he's going to play maybe 40, 50 games at third base max if he has a full healthy year.
I mean,
you're talking about Vlad needing to float in at DH. You have George Springer needing to float in at DH. Like, you have guys that you're going to have to rotate through that spot, and that infield is just suddenly looking more and more unathletic if he's playing that often.
He can provide you help at third. He plugged in at second there for a bit in Boston. So, I mean, he can at least give you that. But with another year under his belt, I don't know if the willingness to plug him in at second is going to be there for the Blue Jays. So it's going to get pretty logjam pretty quick.
Well, and usually if we're talking about pitchers, the longevity that they have because of what they're being asked to do, it's not the same can be said for position players. And usually it's more DH work. If guys play into their late 30s and 40s like Justin Turner's doing, he can still swing it, and they don't really care as much about the defensive component. But because of that, he's more limited than he used to be. Still a very good player that can contribute with the bat. There's no doubt about it. But a lot of teams, like you brought up, Nate, want versatility, and that's going to be something they're going to have to deal with. Like, in Baltimore, because I can just bring it up with it, the Orioles like to rotate their DH spot, and JD Martinez, I feel like, has been like since Nelson Cruz and David Ortiz have come and gone. JD Martinez has become that DH where you don't feel bad about having that guy play every single day because of what he's capable of doing. Other guys like the Orioles are like, we didn't want to give up that spot.
You look at the Yankees having to be like, it's one hand tied behind your back, having Stanton locked in at DH. You can't rotate. And if that guy has a down year, it's like, what do you do? So it's apples and oranges just contractually, just because it's a 1-year deal and Justin Turner isn't that expensive, but it pigeonholes you a little bit.
Well, and it shows that the Blue Jays are still in. They're still in on winning right now. And they do have a team. Like I thought last year, guys, I think the Blue Jays to me were my pick to win the division going into the season because of the team that they had, and then it didn't pan out. And here you are again, where the window is closing little by little, and they're showing, hey, he can play. We want to go get him. We're going to still take a crack at this. But I'm with you. I don't know what the long-term thing is. It's the short term. Maybe it's a great year in Toronto, but long-term wise, is this something that's going to help the Blue Jays? No, it's not. Justin Turner's getting close to the end of his career. It's been a great career. But Toronto. Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have a Matt Chapman pick now that that era is done? Like a landing spot pick.
Would like San Francisco be an option?
Yeah, weren't the Giants kind of at the top of that list? At least for the time being.
I feel like San Francisco, they feel like all the reports or talks from San Francisco, they feel like they just missed out over and over again this offseason, right? So it feels like they got to do
Plus
something.
3 off seasons, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, beyond just this year.
Well, in some cases, one of them might have worked out, but for not getting involved with it. But they're trying to change their culture around too, and it's a solid organization, solid team. But that to me would be the pick if he goes. Yeah. That'd be me. That'd be my. I'm
gonna steal that too. I like that.
Regarding personnel moves, I mean, there's been some other small 1-year deals, some acquisitions here and there, but we'll maybe save those for another time. Other big news: Theo Epstein returning to Boston.
There you go. There you go, Kyle.
As it were. He is joining. Let me make sure I got this right. He's returning to the organization as a minority owner with Fenway Sports Group. So, in effect, stepping down from his role with Major League Baseball, which I think was forgotten in this news. Like Red Sox fans, like, oh yeah, we got our guy back, but baseball fans as a whole, I would think should be like a little bit disappointed not having that guy around the MLB offices anymore, because he's shown you that he can change whatever organization or whatever mission that he undertakes for the better. And the fact that he's no longer in the offices, I feel like is a hit for, or a hit against Major League Baseball. But as I mentioned, Red Sox fans thrilled to have Theo back. Unfortunately, I don't think it matters. I think this is just another one of their many PR moves where they're just trying to keep the fan base. Well, they're not trying to keep them happy, but they're trying to make them happy again, because every lull in between these PR moves is just Red Sox fans being completely and utterly pissed off.
Feel good,
right? If you couldn't tell, it's just like a scab that he just keeps peeling off. Every time it starts to heal, he peels it off, and you see the blood coming out a little bit. Now, you know, some teams sign or trade for, you know, like a massive superstar left-handed bat. Some teams trade for an ace in the rotation, and some teams just bring back a glory days front office guy who. Okay,
let's not chalk up Theo Epstein as some for the good times, for the memories, you know, acquisition. Like Theo Epstein is Theo Epstein still.
He's not going to have a 980 OPS in the middle of the lineup. I know that much.
He's not, but maybe, just maybe, he can get in the ears of those other guys and say, hey, I can't do it. I can't have a 980 OPS, but let's go out and get a guy maybe that can. Maybe. Let's hope. Not likely. I'm not holding my breath on this.
Mookie would have been great to keep, but you know.
Yeah, imagine having that guy on your team. Like that guy you would never let walk away, right? I mean, just second baseman now.
I do take a time when people are like, you ever take a moment to think about what the Red Sox had? I do that from time to time, and I'll be like, wow.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Thanks.
I know it's more for you, but I'm sitting there like, man. I look and I keep seeing. I go, man, Mookie's still a top 5 player overall. This is what happened. But I'm like, wait a minute. Wow, they were on the Red Sox? All those guys?
It's 3 a.m. Ryan sits up in a cold sweat. Mookie's going to be in LA for a long time.
Yep.
Red Sox really missed out on this guy.
Yep.
Tough.
So good.
Sorry.
No, it's all right, man. I hate to say it, but the last year and a half, I feel like I've felt myself evolve more into just like a general baseball fan. I'm still a Red Sox fan. I'm not going to just completely walk away from the organization, but as a result of them just
it's made you appreciate other baseball.
Yeah, and it's been fun. And
silver linings.
On that note, like last year, for example, it was a blast watching the O's do what they did and being able to catch a few games here and there. Like that was a good time. So joking aside, I'm not like, yeah, it sucks that our big signing of the year is Theo Epstein and it's in the ownership group. It's not even like bringing him in directly into the front office, if you will. He's not like taking over as GM. So that's our big news this offseason. But
tough.
It is what it is. I'm in like the 7 stages of grief or whatever. I don't even know where I'm at. I'm somewhere in the middle.
It could be a great year. It really could. And you're a good kid, Kyle. Keep your head up.
Thanks, Ryan. I really needed that pick me up. I appreciate you. It wouldn't be a 3-0 take episode if we didn't talk about some jersey adjustments or reveals or leaks or whatever you want to call it. Let me send this to you guys so you have it. It's a possible leak to the Phillies City Connect unis. Mm-hmm. And from what I can recall, I don't believe that any leak has ever missed. Like I'm pretty sure every image that we've had come out in one capacity or another it's ended up being that jersey. So if that holds true, we're looking at these being the Philly City Connects. And if you haven't seen them yet, just do a quick Google search, Philly City Connect. We got a weird gradient going on. How do we feel about this?
You know what?
These are ass.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, Ryan. Just say it with your chest. Nate has no issue doing that. This
is ass.
This is supposed to be the Phillies?
Yeah. It looks like
The team that literally has red as essentially their only color. Yeah, they got a little bit of blue, but
like they'll have
the Phillies who are red.
They do have like the throwback has like, the blue obviously, but like this to me.
We're reaching. Careful. Did you stretch before you reached?
No, I didn't. but my point, I guess, where I was going with this is, with this, we'll just keep it short and sweet. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
These are horrendous. This is terrible. Like, who's been interviewing these candidates at Nike and who's actually giving them jobs? That's what I want to know.
What connection is this to this city? They started out pretty, like the campaign, I'll say, started out pretty well in terms of connecting to the city. But now we're just throwing together an alternate and shipping it out
with Brewers colors.
Yeah, honestly, I was trying to think about it, and why didn't I? That if you told me that's the Milwaukee Brewers, go like, oh, okay, I'm in on that.
Yeah,
Philly out. Couldn't be further out the door on it, to be honest.
Dumb.
It's
garbage.
It's hey, but somebody's gonna like it. Someone will buy it, and if it makes them happy, Kyle, I'm happy. But I will not buy it.
Atrocious. Spring training hats just dropped today.
Ass.
How?
How do they keep getting worse? I hate these.
Tell me what about this? Okay, let's just rule out the ones that are garbage. Houston, garbage. A two-tone, I'm assuming I'm seeing that correctly, a two-tone orange hat going with like the creamsicle look, garbage.
5 of them are yellow, 5 of them are orange. Can we get into other parts of the color wheel?
Yellow ones are garbage, especially the Rays. That's garbage. D-backs, while I don't see that as like something I'd wear on field, the look of it's solid. Rangers, big fan. Jays, big fan.
I like the Cubs one.
Real talk here. Are we seeing a shift away from the curly W? Slowly but surely? Because that is full-on Senators gear.
Could be rebranded. Who knows? It's...
The Rockies just don't like to participate in these types of things,
The look in the mirror, Nate.
Same
what did the Yankees do?
The Yankees haven't participated in any kind of creativity when it comes to
the Rockies. At least went with a purple lid. The Yankees. I saw a comment on the post, and it was the Yankees realizing that the deadline was due today, and then they just threw that out there. That's exactly what happened. Same with the Reds. Ryan, would you buy an O spring training hat?
All orange.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe I was told now that I'm not playing. Don't wear hats as much because it pushes your hairline up. So I'm trying to wear less hats. It's not going.
I'm trying to fight that, dude. I'm
on this side.
I'm on this side of 30 now. I'm trying to do what I can to keep that.
I mean, the hat's a good look. I love wearing the hat. The orange one, if it was given to me, absolutely. But I'm gonna just try to force myself to not buy any hats or get a hat because
it took like a year and a half.
We're getting up there.
It took like a year and a half to finally get the 3-0 take hat to Ryan back in October when we met at Canyon.
Postseason while I was
live.
He
makes his first appearance on the pod, doesn't wear it, and then informs us that he's actively seeking less hats.
Well, okay. Because on certain things when I'm out doing the pregame show, I'll wear a hat. It's sunny, things are going on. Yeah. So like on this, I'm not going to wear a hat like you guys do. And I tell people when I do the Ryan Ripken show, I'm like, hey, don't wear a hat. Show your face. It's okay. But
some of us aren't as pretty.
Well,
we're not as handsome as you, Ryan.
I don't know about that.
That's the reality of it.
It's a compliment. But did I not rock the 3-0 take hat during the pregame show?
You did, man. That was big time.
Pregame show, I had my glasses on, like my 70s disco glasses from the wedding the night before. We were having a time. We're having a time, and I was rocking the hat proudly. I was a big fan. I'm glad I finally got one from you guys.
Much appreciated.
Finally being keyword.
Finally.
Finally, after a year and a half. Anything else we need to cover before we get into our
biggest disappointment is the Reds not having Mustache Guy on there. What are we doing? That's Mr. Mustache belongs.
They've had that in the past.
Yeah, but what are we doing? That's the only time. You don't need anything else.
How about the Twins going off the radar?
I can't find them.
They're up top.
What is that?
Minnesota St. Paul. I mean, it's different. I'm here for it as a spring training hat. The Cubbies going with the Bear. The Royals just, I mean, that's a clean lid. I don't care spring training or not. That's
I think the Mariners one is super clean with the black bill.
That is.
Or
that's
blue
probably
bill.
blue.
Assumes blue. Yeah. Either way.
Anyway.
That's it.
Anything else we missed before we get into our little Unbreakable Records segment that I know Ryan is just thrilled about?
Thrilled.
Well, I mean, right. Okay. Hear me out. Yeah, I texted you before the episode. I said, "Hey, this is the Unbreakable record we're looking at." You hit me immediately with a single throwing up emoji.
That's correct.
Now put yourself in my shoes, knowing that this is, many would argue, the most unbreakable record. What other time would we cover this? Other than the one time a year we get you on, it seems. Like when else?
Whoa. No. Okay, don't you do that. We just talked about we're going to talk more and more. You guys have a different off season.
That's the goal.
That's our goal. That was uncalled for.
Yeah. That's on me.
From the rafters.
That's on me.
I get enough crap on my own show from guys. I do not need that from you, pal. That hurts.
Let's rewind that. All right, I take it back. I said no such thing. You're right. That's our goal for 2024. More episodes together, more content, more meetups. It's happening.
So what would you like me to talk about that streak? Record.
It's not. I'm not like flipping this segment to you, being like, "Hey, Ryan, teach us about you were on and you just happened to share the same last name." So I thought, well, if we're gonna cover it, why not just cover it when Ryan's on?
Fair enough. Let's do it.
I mean, would you rather talk about Hack Wilson's RBI single season record from like the 1800s?
No, I wouldn't. And I think, the reason why I'm glad I'm on for this, because I think you had a stat for something that involved with me. So yes. Well.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we can just lead off with that. So
don't disrespect my boy Hack either, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. As many of you all know, Cal Ripken's streak of 2,632 games. In the midst of that, our very own Ryan Ripken was born and conveniently just happened to be on an off day.
Yeah. So for the backstory of that, yes, I don't remember it, but I do understand it was an off day because the Orioles are going to go play in Toronto, and wouldn't have been if I was born during the season, or during a regular season game scheduled. My dad would have probably missed the game, and could you imagine if I was the reason why the streak ended? That would have been brutal.
Hold on. Has this not, like, sort of jokes aside, but sort of joking, has this not been addressed? Like, have you not heard for certain whether or not it would have been a missed game or not?
I know that my dad, which I appreciate, wanted to be there for my birth. He wanted to be there, and
of course,
that was going to push to really hard decisions. And if the decision was to be there for the birth of me, that might have caused and ruffled some feathers there. So I'm glad we never had to answer.
Yeah, you would have been doomed from the start.
I mean,
I
in some cases, I was, but I'm glad not for that reason. I'm glad that he saw me get born. And this, they say, like, take a picture, kiss some babies. Take a picture with me, kiss the baby me, and then get on a flight to Toronto. That's what happened. Does that make you feel better?
The more interesting thing I would like to know is that if we rewind 9 months back on the conception, do you think that happened on an off day? You know what I mean? If we're really digging into the,
if this is a deep dive, we need some answers here, Ryan. No, but seriously, think about it. If you would have been,
when's your birthday?
July 26, 1993.
All right.
Shout out 93 babies.
Let's go.
If you would have been the reason the streak ended, Ryan, and we had you on this podcast right now, there'd be eggs hitting your window. Probably. I would imagine, right?
Probably.
Still 20 something years later.
But people forget it's actually 28 years. Like 20, it'll be 29 this year.
Man.
Guys, you just like to bring up some moments, but no, I'm glad.
October 26th. That's when it happened. That's when it went down. If we're right on 9 months, by the way.
Wild. Didn't think we'd be pulling out the conception date on this pod, but
okay.
I'm here to do research for you.
I just wanted to be on record who initially brought that up. That was not me.
I hear you. I know, but thank you for doing the math on what year then I would have been conceived, Nate. So might be
not a problem.
I might need.
If that's the reason you never join this podcast again,
that might be a good out for me right now. I'd be like, all right,
Nate
guys,
was the
good
reason.
to see you. I'm out of here.
Nate was the reason. I did have a question for you, Ryan. I know I've said this already. Jokes aside, as many baseball fans know, some may not. Ryan Miner was the guy who took the field in place of Calvin the day the streak ended. Have you had the chance to meet Ryan? Ryan Miner was my manager in high A, so I got to spend a lot of time with him. Nice.
And unfortunately passed away, lost a battle with cancer recently.
That's right. Very recently.
So he was the guy that replaced my dad on the streak or to end the streak. And I feel bad because there's a lot of expectations or people look at him in that light. He's also a stud basketball player at Oklahoma, like stud at Oklahoma. Got drafted in the NBA, drafted in MLB. Like the guy is amazing. And then it's just kind of funny how life works sometimes, right? Then you're able to, years later, he's my manager and, it's kind of surreal, but he'd always joke about it. He's like, hey, if your dad ever needs someone to talk about the streak, I'll just go sit in the corner. He can point at me like, then this guy took over. He's a gentle giant and he's like 6'7", 6'8". Kept it light. And I really wish he had more of a chance to see if he could have played every day when my dad got hurt a couple years later. But yeah, it's funny how that works, right? That happens. He's a part of the history. And then
small world
years later in 2019, he's my manager in high A. And he helped me get my confidence back on the field. And that's something that I can never thank him enough for. But it's crazy. It's crazy when you think about life in certain ways and where people that you thought might never, in this case, people that are intertwined for more reasons than one.
Love it. Well, Ryan, I know you gotta head out, so we'll cut you loose. But appreciate you hopping on. And again, jokes aside, I thoroughly enjoy when the three of us can get together and talk. So, do you want
to you guys are saying you want to do it again?
I'm down.
If you would have us, I would love to be able to talk ball with you again. But again, if the conception thing was the last straw,
that might have been the last straw. But you know what? Why don't we get that in the works?
That's a risk I was willing to take.
So people are going to hear it here. We're going to get this back going, and you're going to see more of the three of us chopping it up. That's a guarantee. Boom, clip it.
The best Adam's apple in the game.
Okay.
Boom.
On that
Nate,
note,
my goodness, dude.
That's a good thing,
you guys. And
Ryan's out. Look at that chin.
Ryan,
and I'm out.
Me and you can do a show a time or two. Let's just count on it.
Just
all right, Ryan.
Jawline of superheroes.
Thanks, Nate.
Much love, Ryan.
You bet, dude. See ya.
Talk soon. Is Ryan leaving the show?
Oh, I didn't know.
We still gotta finish.
See you guys. Bye.
Right,
love you, Ryan. See you, man.
Oh, that's so good,
man. What a finish.
So good.
You legitimately are going to be the reason we never get Ryan back on the show again.
I don't have a filter.
The conception thing was, it's a great question.
It's a great point. You know what I mean?
One I would have probably asked in private, but you decided to ask
October 26th
anyway.
of 1992. That is after the postseason.
Okay, so that's maybe one I would have asked privately, or just talked about privately.
It's just a simple math question.
But not only did you do that, then you went on to talk about his Adam's apple.
I think it's a compliment.
He's never going to want to come on the show again.
I think it's a compliment.
Much love to Ryan. Love having Ryan on here. I think he was like, he was like visibly upset that we had to talk about the streak.
But yeah, I don't think he's down. I think he's just spent his whole life talking about it, and everybody asks him about it. So I could see why.
But on the flip side,
maybe he doesn't come back because of you.
He's definitely not coming back because of you. Don't try to flip this on me.
I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna like talk about that on another episode. You know, it's
understandable.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's just say the work ethic of the father has definitely been passed down to the son, because that guy never takes a day off and he never has time for anything. That's why he has 1,100 unread text messages.
Yeah, he texted the group chat while we were recording and said, "Hey, I got like 5 minutes. I need to go." So, man stays busy. Anyway, just finishing up this streak talk. Where was I? Where did I leave off here? He played in 8,002. See, the interesting thing about this streak is that I think the people that don't really look into it, they just hear the number of games he played and assumed he played every inning of every game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how that works.
Yeah.
The game is official after what, 5? Is that what it is? Has it changed?
I feel like as far as an appearance and being listed as a game has changed.
Because I remember the night he broke the streak. It was official in the middle of the fifth, end of the fifth.
Game becomes official, as in like if weather happens and the game needs to end, that we can officially call it. But an appearance in being listed in Baseball Reference as a game, I think is just making an appearance either in the field or at the plate. Because when you talk about guys that are like defensive substitutions, you're still being listed as a game. If you go in the ninth as to sub in at shortstop, but don't hit, that still counts as a game. Yeah. So any type of appearance on the field counts.
Played in 8,243 consecutive innings from June of 82 to 87, September of 87. That's a lot of baseball. I mean, forget the streak. That just innings wise. That
how many?
In and of itself, 8,243.
Divided by 162. No, that doesn't make any sense. Divided by 9, right? Divide that by 162. So that's almost 6 straight years.
Yeah, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. Yeah.
Almost 6 straight years of playing every inning. I think what's cool, and I think my favorite part of this, and not to get too sentimental or anything, but like I think like growing up, your dad was like it's just cool to be like blue collar. He's in a blue collar city. Guys that they show up, they go to work every day. And that's, I think, what was so cool about like the whole streak and growing up around the streak, and like your dad coaching our team for so many years, like, and your dad showed up to work every day. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a cool inspiration for that side of it. And like, take the baseball out of it, take the competitive, take the money out of it. It's like just showing up and doing anything every day consistently because that's your word. That to me is more impressive than anything.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, this streak, I would say, and Cal as a player, I think, I won't speak for you, but for me at least, was one of the reasons on a very short list of why I fell in love with baseball, why I tried to model the way I approached the game as a kid and into high school, into college, of just showing up, and like, it's certainly in high school, college, it's not a job, but at points it can feel like it, but it's certainly no professional baseball. I'll say that, but you can still approach it in a similar fashion. Like you can just say, like, this is what I've signed up to do. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm going to do it without making excuses as to why I can't do this or that. You just show up and do it.
A grind is a grind. And whatever perspective you have on it, whatever your grind is in your life, it's like to show up every day, it's tough, man. Like that's insane. And I don't want to hear of like he's a professional athlete. Like the amount of hotel trips and buses and planes, and it's like traveling sucks. So how often do we go on vacation and we're like, yeah, I'm going to take Monday off because I don't want to go back to work right away. So like
there's people that sit at computers for 8 hours a day, like crying about the fact that they don't have a 3-day weekend or something.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
So, yeah, he's making money, but are you doing really any professional athlete? Are you doing what they're doing? Are you capable of doing what they're doing? No. Yeah. So let's quiet that noise down. Going back to this inning streak though, this inning streak thing, did you learn something new every day? Did you know who replaced him to kind of put a cap on that inning streak in the middle of the streak?
Was it not Ryan Miner?
No. That was who replaced him. Like once the game streak was over, but I'm talking about like the inning streak.
Oh, this like almost 6-year stretch. No.
Yeah. Do you know who replaced him?
Who?
Ron Washington.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, baseball's awesome. What the heck?
How crazy is that?
Baseball's awesome.
I had no idea. I mean, I knew the Ryan Miner thing, but Ron Washington, how about that? I got another little nugget here. Only one Hall of Famer played his entire career within the confines of the streak. That would be Kirby Puckett, who debuted in '84 and retired after the '95 season.
That's crazy.
There's so many.
There's so many
streaks
nuggets
like this.
Yeah.
With streaks like this, I love that you see all the time, like, what was the price of milk?
Yeah.
And then like 20 years, or however many years later, it being completely different.
Like this superstar was this age, or this was the president, or like, yeah.
And look, we can talk all we want about how steroids saved baseball. If you don't want to fall in line or be a part of the camp that says that steroids save baseball, you can very easily look to this as something that, kept baseball afloat, because people were tuning in, and you hear, especially Orioles fans, talk about how no matter how rough their day was, blue collar workers, white collar alike, they're signing off at the end of a long work day, and they're tuning in to watch the Orioles. They're tuning in to watch Cal do his thing.
Yeah.
And to see if he could do the unthinkable, and it was break Lou Gehrig's streak, and he went on to do that. And not only kept baseball afloat, but I think inspired an approach that still, I think, is it's lacking, but I think without Cal, the game of baseball looks very different.
Yeah.
Because he showed that it could be done, and that
100%,
you can work through injuries. You don't have to look very far. You don't have to look past Cal Ripken to say it can be done. Like, guys can play through injuries, and not only do that, but they can succeed at it. Like, sure, he had to take his bumps and bruises, but
difference between hurt and injured and all those types of things. Yeah. It's
redefining all sorts of things.
100%. And it just speaks to like everything that like a lot of sports are having issues with, is particularly the NBA. Teams are, fans are spending money to go to tickets and get tickets and watch these games, and like to not see the superstar that you're wearing the jersey and you're going to the game to see not playing. That was not an issue. So yeah, it's I think the most impressive. It's my 1A, but that's my bias.
Yeah, I know the last few unbreakable records we've looked into, we kind of close it being like, is this the most unbreakable? And I know I say that every time, like, is this the most unbreakable record? But I think
it goes beyond numbers. It goes beyond performance.
Yeah, like it's like willpower at that point. Right. Just being able to get up that many days in a row, that many years in a row, and doing the same thing, even after you've been beaten up the night before with bruises and cuts and scrapes and tweaks and pulls. it's just, like I said, that approach, it's lacking. But I think with the way that the world is shifting, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, with NBA, we're seeing load management. We're seeing guys not necessarily going above and beyond what they feel their worth is. And you see that just in the American workplace, like not to get all like whatever, but I don't see this ever happening again. That is certainly a dying breed. And I think Cal was the last guy that's ever going to put up that kind of number. So as you were saying, I think that's got to be 1A. I think it's got to be everybody's 1A. With as insane as Ricky's numbers are, and Nolan's records are, nobody's touching this.
Agreed.
Nobody's touching it.
Agreed. Good stuff.
That'll do it. Appreciate Ryan hopping on with us. I think we got through everything. I know you got to go. I feel like I kept you way too long.
Good.
So we'll get out of here. But good chat today. Episode 411 in the books. We're gonna have to get to
let's get a change up sometime soon. We keep saying that, but let's do it for sure.
Let's do it. Subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. As I mentioned, we're working towards a goal of 2,000 by the end of the year. So even if you don't watch the pod on YouTube, help us out with this with the sub. Would be greatly appreciated. But other than that, we will talk with you guys soon.
Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. You're the best. Don't go chasing curveballs.
Love y'all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.